with the analysis of the 6th chapter. We'll perhaps do meditation next time. So what we had seen last class was, this is all about meditation. The 6th chapter is Dhyana Yoga is the name. And what we had seen was that Dhyanam, which is also can be called meditation, has two forms. So Dhyanam has two forms. Okay? So one is as a preparation, which is what is called upasana. So whenever we do some preparation, please close your eyes, asanam, etc., etc. That is the form of dhyanam. So that is one form of dhyanam. Then the second form of dhyanam is called nididhyasanam. And so the nididhyasanam should be understood. What is the role of nididhyasanam, which is also a form of dhyanam, but a very particular form of dhyanam. The reason for that is to convert the knowledge that you have received from Vedanta into your personal experience. This is what nididhyasanam is. This is what is called technically jnana phalam. So the results are not there yet. We feel that I'm still bound as a normal samsari. That's the problem. Because you've been told that you're okay, you're not a samsari, you are free, you are the very support of the whole world. All of that is given. But I don't feel that. I don't feel that. And so there is an issue with why that is the case. And this is not a surprise. So the Shastra actually knows that this is how you will be feeling. This is how you are going to go. This is a process where you first look at the knowledge, and then you have to work on it to convert that into a personal experience. And so that process of converting your knowledge, the so-called knowledge, into your own experience is provided by nididhyasana. And I think a very good analogy of that is that when you are hungry and you have a problem, you feel hunger, then just the process of eating is not beneficial to you, although you can take some snacks right away if you're very hungry. The snacks usually are not fulfilling, but they tide your hunger. But it isn't until the food is eaten, and especially it is processed, you start to digest it and so on, that is when the true fruits of eating become yours. Gyan, that's the phalam. So similarly here also, the knowledge is just like you're getting introduced to it. It's almost like you're seeing the food. But to digest it takes a process of doing. And so what is that process is provided by nididhyasana. So those are the two things that we saw. Right? Okay. That being the case, we saw last time that there are 6 steps to 6 steps to do Nididhyasanam. So this we have done before, but I just want to quickly revise it. So the 6 steps are the general preparation for meditation, called Samanya Sadhanani, a special preparation for meditation called Vishesha Samanyani, then the very nature of Dhyanam, Dhyana Swarupam. The 4th one is Dhyana Phalam. How will you know that you have reached, why have you benefited from it? When will you know? How will you evaluate yourself? So that's the Phalam. 5th one, this is the last one, sorry, or 5 of them, are the obstacles during meditation. What is called Dhyana Pratibandha Parihara. So that means what are the obstacles that you do. So we'll go into all of them today. So let's start with the very first one, which is the general preparation for meditation called Samanya Sadhanani. And it is also called Bahiranga. Bahiranga means that that portion of the sadhanani which is outside of you. So the general climate of experiences, how can you improve that? So this is called Bahiranga Sadhanani. So this Bahiranga Sadhanani has 3 portions to it. Let me see if I can just summarize that for you. Yeah, so there has 3 different aspects to it. First one is called Samatvam of the mind. Samatvam of the mind Samatvam means not being pushed out of shape with any experiences, to regain your sense of balance about things. Here, the Karma Yoga is the most important method of gaining samatva. Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga means, and in fact this is what all the 4 or 5 chapters of the Gita talked about. And in summary, what Karma Yoga means, that you use your experiences of life not for gaining accomplishments, but to improve your mind. To improve your attitudes. The karma can be used for accomplishments, but the Karma Yoga is not to gain anything outside of yourself, but to gain a sense of equilibrium in your life. And here the 2 examples, one that was cited by Swami Paramatmananda in the recent talks, and one given by Swami Maheshananji, both are to be taken into account. And in the Karma Yoga, a sense of understanding the presence of Ishvara in your life is very important, is very key. If you have not looked into feeling the presence of Ishvara, then karma yoga does not work as well. How and why? The two examples that I'm going to cite to you will show you that. So if you recall, Swami Paramatmananda, I don't know if you were there when this example was given, so I'll just tell you. So there was a man who was very fond of his expensive pen. This was the Parker pen, and a very expensive one. Swami Tattvavedananda was, when he was talking about 6-7 years ago, he was saying, just on the issue of the pen, that you buy this. This happened to me also. It's so interesting. My wife and she entered into a business with another lady. This is about 17, 18, 20 years ago. So they were both interior designers, and they formed a company, and they started working. And they were pretty successful. They made good money, and they were very popular. So on the year of their anniversary, they decided to gift something to both the husbands. So there were two husbands of the two ladies who were partners. And so they gave us a surprise. We went out for dinner and so on and so forth. Then they opened up and they gave us a very expensive pen and pencil set. What is it? It says Waterman. Waterman. There are some Waterman pens. Very expensive. Later on I found out it was like $250 or something like this. But these women were so proud of what they had done, they gave us this. That started a problem in my life. Really, to this day. So it came in a set, and so this was very nicely. Okay, then, now I had to start using it. First of all, both them were very heavy. They were all made of metal. I was just used to these plastic ones and so on. Anyway, what to do? You have to, your wife has given you this, so she will look at it and says, "You're not using your pen, the one I gave you?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to use it." And so for a number of years, I trained myself to use those pens. Now here's the problem. When you're using these pens, you cannot ignore it. Like somebody says, "Can I borrow your pen?" You know what will happen? You will say, "That pen is with that person." While somebody else is talking to you, your mind is there. He has to give it back to me. Swami Tattvavedananda was saying exactly the same thing. At that point, you don't own the pen owns you. Thank goodness, after 4 or 5 years, I still have them. They are in my drawer someplace as an antiquity. She also forgot about it. I also did not use it very much. Now I have these 10 cents pen that I use, and I use them and I lose them. It's gone. Anyway, that's a story about the pen. Swami Paramatmananda gave this very beautiful example. He said that there was this very successful businessman. He would always use his pen, Waterman pen or Parker pen, for signing. This is important to him. He would always keep it in his pocket, and he would make it nice and shiny and make sure that everything is all ready. It's very important. One day, on his birthday, his daughter gave him a surprise and said, "Dad, I want to give you this pen." And this pen was just an ordinary pen, didn't have much value, but she gave it to him. So now he didn't like the pen, but he liked the giver of the pen. So for her sake, that pen became loving to him. and he started using that pen. He forgot about his own pen and he started using this pen because not that the pen was useful, but the giver of the pen was very loving to him. This is the example that he gave, a very beautiful example. Swami Maheshananji gives another example. He said, suppose your son or a daughter gets married. Okay? Let's say your daughter gets married. She comes with her husband, your son-in-law, comes with his own family. He's got a mother, father, sisters, brothers. Now, all of a sudden, your view of the in-laws changes. You cannot just ignore them. If they are in town and if they are visiting, you really don't have any direct love for them because you hardly even know them. But you know what? For the sake of your daughter, you take care of them. Not just because they're not your friends, but because they are your daughter's family, you love your daughter that much. All the family comes because of her. This is the example given by Swami Maheshananji. Now, to translate that in Karma Yoga, what it means is, remember the first example of Bahiranga sadhana is samatvam of the buddhi. This is the first one, samatvam of the buddhi. The samatvam of the buddhi comes from Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga involves an understanding of Ishvara. Why is that important? Because if you deal with people, they are Ishvara's people, connected to Ishvara. You may not like them per se, but you like Ishvara. And so therefore, just like the pen of your daughter or the in-laws of your daughter, you have a different way of dealing with people than if you were not cognizant of Ishvara. So this is an important thing to see. So samatva means that whatever happens, happens. The sting of the whole world's experiences is reduced. I think a very beautiful example is that it becomes like wearing shoes, where you don't have to worry about exactly where I'm going, whether it is rough, there are some thorns, some pebbles, sharp pebbles, if it is very hot or cold. You don't have to worry about that because you have some insulating shoes that insulates you from all the excesses of the surfaces that you're walking on. This is the value of Karma Yoga. The Karma Yoga means that your attitude in behaving with others is in such a way that you are not pushed aside. This is a very interesting, there's a saying of the Western which says, pushed out of shape. I always appreciated this. So what it means is that if you have a spring, and if you can stretch it to a point where it does not lose its own shape. But if you stretch it to such an extent that it loses its shape, it never comes back to the original shape. Right? I find that the young children are a great way for us to learn from. How? Here's what happens. Supposing there is some kind of a quarrel between the young one, and I'm talking about young ones up to the point of about 10 maybe. After that, they become different. But up till about, I'm just approximating it, 9, 10, 11, something like this. Here's what happens. When there is a quarrel between the parents and the child, and there are words exchanged and perhaps even some crying and so on and so forth, the remarkable thing is that after that episode is finished, they forget about it. In the afternoon, they'll say, Mom, can I have some ice cream or something? The mother remembers the quarrel because it leaves a certain impression on her. Why this girl behaved with me? Why is she not listening to me? I don't understand this. So there is some change in her mom's behavior, but none in the children's behavior. Because they have a quarrel and they're done with it. So karma yoga also means that you learn from the child's samatva, that she's a happy person, there's a quarrel and it's done with, there was some crying and so on and so forth, it's finished. You go back to the happy person. Similarly, in karma yoga also it is said that if you keep this attitude in mind, it's not as though you don't perform functions. If you have to quarrel with somebody, quarrel with somebody. But you maintain your central point and you come back to it very quickly. Don't hold anything against it. Don't be out of shape. So this is the first of the Bahiranga sadhana that you should have in order for nididhyasanam to become effective. Here Swami Paramarthananda said, you only have one instrument, which is the mind. It's not as though there is one mind for quarreling and one mind for looking in the class. He gave this very beautiful example. He says, suppose, because obviously where he teaches in Chennai, and there's hundreds of people in his class, so they all come from various parts of Chennai, and some of them, they are taking scooters and rickshaws and taxis, buses, and he says that suppose you had a quarrel with a three-wheeler guy who brought you into the class, and you accuse him of overcharging you, and the person says no, and now you're really upset and you have to part with the money. Now you enter the class. Now, it is not as though the mind that you use to quarrel with the three-wheeler guy is different than the mind that you are sitting in the class. It's the same mind. And you're not going to listen to anything I'm saying because you're still saying, that guy, I wish I had taken a different one. Why do these? So you're still thinking about it. So the samatva means that it is important that your basic mind has to be taken care of. So this is the first one that you have to do. And by the way, I'm not going through, this is all given in the verses of the Gita. So I'm just giving you the overall conceptual idea of what it is. So for example, I'll tell you, in the first few verses, In the very first verse of the 6th chapter, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Anashritaha karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha niragnihi cha akriyaha. He says that, listen, this is the essence of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means that you are not that concerned with success and failure in your life. That's going to happen. So you look beyond it. You say, you know what, there are some factors that are taking place. I'm going to go on with my life because so Ishvara Bhakti and Atma Bhakti all are all the same. That you have a sense, this is what I want to accomplish. I want to own my own self. I'm less dependent on the outside world. And I'm not going to let individual problems that are occurring in my life disturb me from my samatva. This is exactly what needs to happen. So here, Lord Krishna actually gives the definition of a sannyasi. It's not a person who's just doing, sitting in an ashram and just doing japa all the time. That's not the sannyasi he's talking about. Because the whole Bhagavad Gita is for householders. Really, that's the beauty of this text. So he says he says anashritam karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha saha sannyasi cha yogi cha. That is who I consider to be the real sannyasi. And then he explains this further in number 2. Yam sannyasam iti prahuhu yogam ta viddhi pandavaha nahi asanyasa sankalpa yogi bhavati kaschana, etc., etc. Then comes in verse number 4 comes the second of the Bahiranga sadhana. So the first Bahiranga sadhana or Samanya sadhanam was what? Samatvam. Right? Then in number 4, verse number 4 of the Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 is the second Bahiranga sadhana, which means some assertion over your sense organs. Yada hi na indriya artheshu na karmasu anusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudhas tada uchyate. So this means that have some control over your sense experiences. Because again, the same example of you should be owning the pen should not be owning you. Similarly, certain things are given to you for your own benefit by Ishvara. And all the sense organs are instruments for your own growth. But if you follow the sense organs uncontrollably, then they own you. You are not using them. And so the second sadhana, that the Bahiranga sadhana, is your awareness of the fact that you are the boss, and your eyes and your ears and your taste buds and so on are supposed to serve you. You should be able to say, no, not now, later, or maybe never. And so relative ability doesn't mean absolute no. So for example, the ears should be used for listening to Uh, this is one of the advices that Swami Dayanand used to give, which was so wonderful. He says, I remember there was a satsang, and so there was a teenager, I remember, in the Sirosburg ashram. I still remember this. So this teenager was asking Swamiji, a little bit young person, I don't know, maybe 18, 19, I don't know. Swamiji, what would your advice on what books I should read, what music I should listen to, and so on? Swamiji says, I can give you one advice which is very general, but I think is useful for you to discriminate between what to do and what not to do, and that is, read books and listen to music which are classical. So read books that are well ascertained that they have a message to give you. Shakespeare's, for example, books, Kalidasa's verses. Similarly, in the music, listen to music which is classical music. Because if you have to listen to music, and you should, it is better that you listen to classical music rather than this beat music. Why? Because the beat music exacerbate your rajasic tendencies. Whereas classical music appeals to your sattvic nature. Why? Remember, this is a very good advice. So he says, whatever you do something which has some real staying power. Classical music has been similarly classical literature, etc., has been well designed for the basics of what you're doing, rather than just the fashion of the day. So he was saying, please do that. Similarly here also, the sense organs should be employed in a beneficial way to yourself, not in just wasting your time. So this was Bahiranga Sadhana. Then the third one, so there are 4 Bahiranga Sadhanas. First one is Samatvam. Second one is control of your sense organs. The third one is verse number 5 in the Gita, means a mastery over your mind. Not just the sense organs, but also your mind. And what that means is, mastery over your mind means a growth of the mind towards pursuit of those things that are truly beneficial to you, rather than the fanciful things that may occupy you. And here the example, again Puja Swamiji's examples are excellent, which is, there is a time for the youngsters to play with dolls, with balloons. There is a time for it. There comes a time when you have to tell, and for boys, marbles. There comes a time when the youngsters have to be told, please, enough of this. Now, please study. So the youngster says, why should I study? This is no fun for me. I love playing marbles. Why can't I just have fun? So I know you need to have fun. I understand that. But you're growing up. And so for a while you have to almost like force yourself not to waste your time playing marbles. Then will come a point where marbles are no longer a hold on you. For a while they have a hold on you. I still remember when I was a youngster, I used to collect marbles. and we used to compare them. And they all have to be unique. Everybody has to have a unique character to it. And I don't know if I had 100 or 200 of them, and we used to compare with each other and trade and so on. Gone. So the control of the mind really means be aware of the fact, are you just doing it for the sake of it, or is it leading you someplace, something more profound? So that's the third Bahiranga sadhana. And the last one is the intellectual. This is number 5 in the Bhagavad Gita. Uddharet atmana atmanam na atmanam avasadayet atma eva hi atmanah bandhuhu atma eva ripuhu atmanah. And number 6, bandhuhu atma atmanastasya yena atma eva jitah anatmanastu shatrutve varteta atma eva shatruvat. Those through 6, number 5 or 6. So there it means you have to use not just your mind, but your intellect, your reasoning capacity, to make sure you do not unnecessarily reject yourself, that you have a value for your own self, value for others, of course, but the more important one is, what is your opinion about yourself? And if you have a low opinion about yourself, no matter where you are, that's going to really hinder your progress. So have the self-confidence. You can say that I have not been very successful so far. That's okay. You know, I find many times people are more generous towards others than to themselves. This is a problem. They'll forgive somebody else, and perhaps it is just a way of see, another thing is that you can pretend something for outside. Like, for example, supposing someone says, my life is really not going very well. I have a lot of problems and so on and so forth, and I don't know what's happening to me. Then you tend to give them some encouragement and say, no, you're going to be okay, it's all right. And even though you feel, I don't know exactly what's going to happen to this person, but my job is to make sure that I encourage the person, which is the right thing to do. But when it comes to yourself, you are with yourself all the time. And you tend to be very harsh with yourself sometimes, I find tendencies in people where they find that they are okay with others, but they are harsher with themselves. So here Lord Krishna recognizes it, and he says, please, be your own best friend. Because if you are not friends to yourself, who else can be? And in fact, if you don't think encouragingly with yourself, you become your worst enemy. So he says that the last Bahiranga sadhana is that please make sure that your intellect is used in an evaluation of yourself. And be honest. It's not as though you don't paper over things and say, it's not as though you have to force yourself to say, I'm going to be okay, I'm going to be okay. That's not what we're talking about. But be patient. Patient with yourself. It's, I have to work on it or something. And here, I think one of the most important aspects of Nididhyasana is to understand that your real self is great. It is very much like a gold. Actually, gold is not that good an example, because one of the values of gold is that it never tarnishes. Silver tarnishes, but gold doesn't tarnish. But the gold could have some layers of dirt on it, some outside things, non-gold things can be there. Exactly the same thing is true for us also. It is not just making pretending things about yourself. Your reality or yourself is so great. All you have to do is to remove the non-reality from yourself. And if you keep working on it, so have the confidence, have the patience to feel good about yourself. And it is not make-believe. This is the thing what Vedanta teaches, that your real self is really very beautiful. Discover it for yourself. And in the process, it's very possible that you may have had some ups and downs in your lives, and no problems about that. But have the patience. So this is the last Bahiranga sadhana, which is given as a prerequisite for successful Nididhyasana. And so we went through all of them, and so in this sense, one can even do some meditation on this part of it. So perhaps we should just, it just occurs to me that this last step of the preparation for Nididhyasanam can be led into an understanding of the value of the self as you are. So let's do a few minutes of meditation with respect to that. The preparation for Nididhyasanam, which is Dhyanam or Upasana, and we have seen the basic steps of that. Ultimately, prepares us for seeing the reality and the truth about myself, and appreciating who I am, distinct from my casual experiences. Here, I see the distinction between electricity and the appliance. There may be an appliance which is functioning quite well, with the help of the electricity, like a fan. But the understanding of the nature of electricity and the nature of the appliance is helpful. Electricity is not a part of the appliance. It is in fact quite distinct from the makeup of the appliance. It is not limited to the appliance, not bound by it. And if the appliance should break down, the electricity is unaffected by it. This example should be kept in mind as I see my body-mind complex as an appliance. Here, the appliance can be likened to a computer where there is some hardware and some software. Similarly, my body and my thoughts, mind, are like the hardware and software. And the Atma, myself, the consciousness, is like the electricity. To appreciate the beauty and the very worth of the Atma, the very truth and enormity of the Atma, myself. Atma means me. One should see this as an example. The Atma is not a part of the body. Consciousness is not a part of the body. It is not limited or bound by the body-mind complex. It is distinct from the body-mind complex. Like the electricity is distinct from the appliance. Something totally different. They are not part of the same family. The appliance may be visible. The electricity may not be. Yes, the appliance functions with the presence of electricity. But it's not the same as the electricity. Similarly, my body and mind need the Atma to function. But the Atma survives even when the body and mind do not. Such is the amazing beauty about myself. I am is an independent fact. I may have a body or may not have a body, but I am. And I am because I am aware. There is no difference between I am and I am aware. So this is Nididhyasanam, which requires certain preconditions for my mind to relax and to appreciate the truth about myself. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this is the introduction to Nididhyasanam as distinct from the preparation. So you can see where the two different forms of dhyanam are. So one is as the upasana, which is also necessary because the mind, unless you prepare it for being an indweller of your own self, of an expression of your own self, cannot really appreciate. You're jumping around too much, there's memories and there's problems and so on and so forth. So the Bahiranga sadhana, which is a general preparation for the day, requires the mind to be having samatvam and so on and so forth. So this is the first one. Then comes, so the Bahiranga sadhana, you can make a note of it, comprises verse number 1 through 9 of the 6th chapter. So you can reread those verses sometime under the general concept of Bahiranga sadhana, as Swami Paramathananda has given, so very beautifully given. And so another word for that is called Samanya sadhanam. Samanya sadhana means general preparation. Then comes verses number 10 to 15 of Antaranga sadhana. Antaranga sadhana, or also called Vishesha sadhana, are defined as those preparatory steps that should be done only at the time of meditation. Not should be done, but they are useful only at the time of meditation. So one is the general thinking about how you lead your life and so on and so forth. A conflict-free life is the general sadhana. And the specific one is that once you have mastered, your mind is at peace. And slowly I think that finding a time to do meditation leads you to Antaranga sadhana. And there are 8 steps to that are roughly similar to the Patanjali's 8 steps. Roughly, they're not exactly the same, but more or less they're the same. And so those are, I won't go into all the details for it, but here are the 8 steps that we have already studied as part of them. So one is, and here the verses number 10 through 15 sketch this out. So for example, let's look at number 10. So he says, Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashir apparigraha. So the first of the 8 steps of the Antaranga sadhana is ekaki. Ekaki means you should isolate yourself from the rest of your responsibilities for doing meditation. And the most important thing for that is to tell yourself, tell your mind, this is the sankalpa that you should use, that listen, I am not busy at this time with the roles of myself. I need to make a distinction between roles and just myself, the actor rather than the role. And during this meditation, I want to be alone without any roles. So what it means is that supposing you're sitting in meditation and you suddenly remembered, oh my gosh, I think I forgot to do that, I better write it down. That's a role. If somebody is expecting you to do something and then you suddenly decide, well, I wonder who's going to win the elections. That's a role. All those are roles. Has my daughter had breakfast today? Did I forget to give a role? So here, who are you without any roles? This is the essence of ekaki. So ekaki means just alone. You should be alone, isolated from all the roles. And it helps for you to fix a time and place, which comes in number 2. So the second one is sthanam. Sthanam means a place and time. And it'll be very good if you can set a time, being alone, isolated from all the other sounds and so on and so forth, and also have time and place for doing this. Then the third one is asana. So asana means a comfortable place for you to sit, and it has 2 aspects to asana. One is that you should not be too stiff, so to the point where you are paining your body, or not to be too relaxed, where you are slumping back and like this, and then why? Because slumping leads to sleep. So you should be alert and yet be relaxed. So this is asanam and sharira sthitam. Number 4, sharira sthiti. Sharira sthiti means that your body should also be relaxed. And we went through this exercise where you go from one part of the body to the other and you look at where tension is stored. It's almost like you are your own masseuse and you are aware of, and just say, please relax. I'll attend to you later, but just relax for now. So this is called sharira sthiti. So number 4, ekaki, sthanam, asanam, and sharira sthiti. Number 5 is pranasamyam. Pranasamyam means be aware of your breathing, which should be relaxed and also full. No short breaths, but not overly long either. Again, having the right medium. And same degree of, you spend as much time exhaling as inhaling. And just be aware of it. Just be aware of your breathing. That also brings your mind back to a sense of samatvam. So this is what is called pranasamanyam. Then the number 6 is indriya nigraha. So again, mastery of your own sense organ. Be aware of your sense of touch, your eyes, your ears, and be in control of what comes in to a certain point. You cannot make it absolutely, but to a certain point, just be aware of the mastery over the sense organs. And then the seventh one is mano nigraha. So mano nigraha means that you should have your mind not be distracted. And there we have done this before, where you divide the mind as having three windows that distractions can come in from. One is the window of the past, where you have regrets, I should have done that, or you have some disappointments. One is the present, where you are not thinking about any relationships, things to do, etc. And the third window is that of the future, where you are worrying about things. I need to do this, I wish I could do this, etc. So mano nigraha means that, again, with respect to the last point, which is buddhi nigraha. So this buddhi nigraha almost completes your circle. Ekaki and buddhi nigraha is the same thing in some ways. How? Because buddhi nigraha means a conviction that the necessity of meditation, I just want to be myself. All day long I'm playing roles, and those are essential to a certain point. But at this point in time, I just want to be myself. And your mind should follow your buddhi nigraha. So buddhi nigraha comes first, then mano nigraha, and then indriya nigraha. So these are just 8 steps that are used, and these 8 steps are what is called antaranga sadhana. Means that you cannot do this all day long, but for your appointed 15 minutes or half hour or whatever time you have, and it will grow on you. It will grow on you. There will become a time where you're so lost in doing this, as you become more adept in doing this kind of meditation. You'll find time just goes, and you say, oh my gosh, what happened? Hour has gone by. That'll happen. And you almost have to, something has to happen where you will have to be disturbed from it. Either a telephone comes in or somebody says, are you okay? Or if you're alone, then you can continue. But so this sense of meditation will take you, and then of course the real meditation, nididhyasanam, is where you are focused on certain facts about yourself. This we will revise this later on, but you remember the analogy that Swami Paramarthananda had given, that you are now so absorbed in the movie. And so this movie we saw the example of the movie of the electricity in the appliance. So it is not thoughtlessness that you are looking for, but you're so absorbed in the appreciation of the self in its various aspects that your meditation becomes self-sufficient. You don't need anything else. And so this is what is called nididhyasanam, which is being given in the 6th chapter by Krishna to Arjuna. And of course has to be preceded with knowledge in the previous. So Karma Yoga has to be preceded. So this is a culmination of the 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita given in the Dhyana Yoga. So that's how it goes, and I'll try to finish the revision in the next couple of classes, hopefully in the next 2 classes or so. And so then the 6th chapter will be finished, and we'll see what to do after that some other time. So with that, I close the class and leave any time for some questions from you. Let me say a prayer. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.